Letter 38. Anyone can be a great man. June 8, 1906. Dear John, there is a holy saying in the Gospel of Matthew, "You are the salt of the world." This metaphor is ordinary and thought-provoking. Salt has a taste, but it also cleans and preserves food. Jesus wanted to teach his disciples what mission they should shoulder and what influence they should exert. They came to the world to purify and beautify the world they are in. They want to protect the world from corruption and give the world fresher and a healthier life. The primary responsibility of salt is to have a salty taste. The salty taste of salt symbolizes a noble, powerful, and truly religious life. So, what should we use our wealth, principles, and beliefs for? Undoubtedly, we must be the salt of the world. Actively serve the society and benefit the world. This is each of us and the last social responsibility. Our responsibility now is to dedicate ourselves completely to the world and people around us, and to concentrate on our art of giving. I do not think there is anything greater than this. Speaking of greatness, I remembered a great speech, which is rare in my life. It tells me that people are nothing great, but there is nothing greater than people. It depends on what you have done for your compatriots and your country. Now, I will transcribe this great speech to you, and hope it will be of great benefit to you. Love, your father. Bonus. Letter 39. The person who thinks the most, feels the noblest, and acts the most righteous, lives the most fulfilling life. June 18, 1906. Dear John, I am honored to have met some important people here today. Although you will say that there are no big people in this city, big people are all born in London, San Francisco, Rome, or other big cities, and not from the local area. They all come from outside this town. If so, you are very wrong. The fact is that there are as many big people here as with other cities. There are many big names in the audience, including men and women. Now, allow me to boldly say that the biggest mistake we often make when judging whether a person is a big person is that we always think that the big people have spacious offices. However, I want to tell you that this world does not know what kind of person the greatest person in the world is. So, who is the greatest man in the world? Young people may be anxious to ask such questions. Let me tell you that a greatest man is not necessarily someone who has an office in a high-rise building. The reason why a person is known for being the greatest man lies in his value and has nothing to do with the position he has obtained. Who can say that a king who lives on food is greater than a farmer who works hard? However, please do not blame young people who hold a certain public office and think they may become big shots. Now, I would like to ask everyone here, who of you plans to be a great person? That guy in a Western cowboy hat? You said you will become a big man in this city someday. Really? When are you going to realize this wish? You said that when another war broke out, you would charge into battle in the rain of bullets and pull down the enemy's flag from the flagpole. You would wear a medal on your chest, return to the country triumphantly, and serve as a public office awarded to you by the government. Become a big shot. No, it will not. Young man, you're not really great in doing this, but we should not blame your ideas. You were taught this way when you were in school. Those who hold official positions have participated in the war bravely. I remember that when the Spanish War in the United States just ended, there was a peace parade in our city. People told me that when the parade team walked on Blow Street, a carriage stopped at the gate of my house. Sitting in the carriage was Mr. Hobson. Everyone threw their hats in the sky, waved their handkerchiefs, and shouted, "Long live Hobson." If I were there, I would shout like that, because he deserves this great honor. But suppose I go to the university forum tomorrow and ask everyone, "Boys, who sank the USS Merrimack?" If they answer, "It's Hobson," then their answer is a 7/8 lie, because there was a total of 8 people who sank the USS Merrimack. and the other 7 people have not been exposed to Spanish artillery fire because of their positions. As the commander, Mr. Hobson was probably out of the artillery fire. My friends, the audience here tonight are all intellects, but I dare say that none of you can tell who the 7 people are fighting with Mr. Hobson. Why do we use this method to teach history? We must teach the students that no matter how low a person's position is, as long as he performs his duties, the American people should give him as much honor as a king. Most people teach their children in this way. Her young son asked, "Mom, what is that tall building?" "That is the tomb of General Grant." "Who is General Grant?" "He is the one who put down the rebellion." How can history be taught like this? Think about it, everyone. If we only have one General Grant, will the war be won? Oh no. So why build a grave on the Hudson River? That is not because General Grant himself was a great man. The tomb was built there because he was a representative figure, representing 200,000 heroic soldiers who lost their lives to the country, and many of them were as great as General Grant. This is the real reason that beautiful tomb stands on the banks of the Hudson River. I remember one thing that can be used to illustrate this situation, and this is the only example I can think of tonight. I am ashamed of this incident and cannot forget it. I close my eyes now and go back to 1863. I can see my home in the Berkshire Hills. The bull market is full of people, and the local church and city hall are also full. I heard the band playing, saw the national flag flying, and the handkerchief waving in the wind. I still have fresh memories of that day. The crowd is here to welcome a company of soldiers, and that company is also coming in line. After serving one period of military service in the Civil War, they have to extend another period. They are now being welcomed by their hometown elders. I was just a young guy, but I was the company commander. On that day, I was triumphant. Like a fully inflated balloon, just a thin needle could pierce me. I am at the forefront of the team. I am prouder than anyone in the world. We lined up into the city hall. They arranged for my soldiers to sit in the middle of the hall, and I sat in the front row. Then the town officials lined up out of the crowd. They walked to the stage and sat in a semicircle. Next, the mayor could not sit in the center of the semicircular seat. He is an old man with great hair and has never held a public office before. He believes that since he holds a public office, he is a great man. When he stood up, he first adjusted his heavy glasses and then looked around the people under the stage with an extremely majestic posture. Suddenly, his eyes fell on me, and then the kind old man walked to me and invited me to sit down with the officials in the town. Invited me to the stage. Before I joined the army, no city official noticed me. I sat in the front of the stage and let my saber hang on the floor. I put my arms around my chest, waited to be welcomed, and felt like Napoleon V. Pride always comes before destruction and failure. At this time, the mayor delivered a speech on behalf of the people, welcoming our group of soldiers who had returned triumphantly. He took out the speech from his pocket, carefully spread it out on the lecture table, and adjusted his glasses. He took a few steps from behind the pulpit and then moved forward. He must have studied the speech manuscript very carefully, because he adopted the posture of a speaker, placing the weight of his body on his left foot, moving his right foot slightly forward, retracting his shoulders, and then opening his mouth with his hand at an angle of 45 degrees. "Dear citizens," he said, "we are very happy to welcome these brave fighters who are not afraid of bleeding. The soldiers have returned to their hometowns. We are especially happy to see those who are with us today. There is a young hero," referring to me, "this young hero, in our imagination, we have seen him lead troops in desperate fights against the enemy. We saw his shiny saber, shining brightly in the sun, and he shouted at his troops, 'Charge!' God, this kind old man knew nothing about war. If he knew a little more about war, he would know the fact that it was a grave mistake for an infantry officer to run ahead of his subordinates at a dangerous moment. I even held the command knife that was gleaming in the sun and shouted to my subordinates, 'Charge!' I have never done this before. Think about it. Will I run to the front and be attacked by the enemy in front and leave the troops behind? The officer should not go there. In actual combat, the officer's position is behind the soldier, because I was a staff officer. When the rebels rushed out of the woods and attacked us from all directions, I always rode a horse and shouted to our army all the way, "The officers, retreat! The officers, retreat!" Then, every officer will retreat to the back of the combat zone, and the higher the rank, the further away. This is not because he lacks courage, but because the rules of battle are like this. If the general ran to the front and was killed, the battle would definitely be lost, because the entire battle plan is in his mind, and he must be in absolute safety. I was even holding that saber gleaming in the sun. What? Among the soldiers sitting in the city hall that day, there were people who had used their lives to protect me, a half-size officer, and someone that carried me across the deep river. Some people were not there because they died for the country. The speaker also mentioned them, but they were not noticed. Yes, those who really died for the country were not noticed, but this little boy of me was said to be the hero of the time. Why am I treated as a hero? It is simple, because the speaker fell into the same stupid trap. This little boy is an officer. The others are just soldiers. I learned a lesson that I will never forget. A person is great not because he has a certain official tie. The reason why he is great is that he used a few tools to create a greater cause and accomplish his life goal as an unknown civilian. This is the real greatness. As long as an individual can provide the public with spacious streets, comfortable houses, elegant schools, solemn churches, sincere admonitions, and genuine happiness, as long as he can get the gratitude of local residents, no matter where he goes, he is great. But if he is not thanked by the local residents, no matter where he goes to the earth, he will not be a great person. I hope everyone here knows that we should live in meaningful actions, not years. We live in feelings, not the numbers on the phone buttons. We live in thoughts, not air. The time should be calculated based on the beating of the heart under the correct goal. If you forget what I said tonight, please do not forget the following statement. The person who thinks the most, feels the noblest, and acts the most righteous lives the most fulfilling life. Love, your father. Letter 40. Real happiness comes from giving. June 28, 1906. Dear John, remember that the only real happiness comes from giving. There is no other way to be happy, my son. Be generous, be magnanimous, be kind and considerate to others, and you will find that in the end, it is you who are enriched and rewarded. I cannot stress enough the importance of generosity and kindness. These virtues have not only brought me immense joy and fulfillment, but have also shaped the very core of who I am. In a world that often prioritizes personal gain and self-interest, it is easy to lose sight of the profound impact we can have on the lives of others. However, I ask you to resist such temptations and instead embrace the path of giving. True happiness lies not in the accumulation of wealth or possessions, but in the ability to make a positive difference in the lives of those around us. My son, generosity is not limited to monetary wealth alone. It extends far beyond material possessions. I ask you to give of your time, your knowledge, and your compassion. Extend a helping hand to those in need, for it is through such acts of kindness that we truly become rich in spirit. But remember, my son, that generosity must be accompanied by discernment. It is important to be aware of those who may seek to take advantage of your goodwill. Choose your philanthropic endeavors wisely, ensuring that they align with your values and have a meaningful impact. Seek out organizations and causes that are dedicated to uplifting others and promoting long-term positive change. In the pursuit of generosity, you will inevitably face challenges and setbacks. Some may question your motives or criticize your actions. I ask you not to be discouraged, for it is often in the face of adversity that our character is truly tested. Stay true to your convictions, and let the goodness within you shine through in all that you do. My son, as you embark on your own journey through life, I ask you to remember that true happiness is not found in selfish pursuits, but in selfless acts of giving. Embrace generosity as a way of being and allow it to shape your interactions with others. In doing so, you will forge deep and meaningful connections, and your own life will be enriched beyond measure. May you continue to walk the path of kindness, compassion, and generosity, my beloved son. Carry forward the legacy of our family, and let the world bear witness to the profound impact one individual can make when they choose to give selflessly. Love, your father. The 38 Letters from D Rockefeller to his son. Perspectives, Ideology, and Wisdom. Written by D Rockefeller.